Hello again. I think in the last series, if you're going in sequence, the last series I talked about offset, and I created a house. I'm going to do something interesting with that house. I'm actually going to combine a bunch of tools. So this might be a little bit lengthier video, but it's primarily about paint bucket, which in SketchUp means materiality. So I'm going to use the example that I just did, which was the house. And I'm going to create a couple of objects. And the first being, or not object, but the first thing I'm going to paint is the floor of the house, right? So I'm going to always make it a component, which is another video you can check out about why to do it. But there's the floor, double click, and then I'm just going to bisect that floor. Actually, before I do that, there's a way to hide your objects. And we haven't spent a lot of time in this toolbox, but the display set and edit set over here. On the right hand side, you'll see something that says component edit, hide rest of model. If I click that, everything that's not in the component will go away. You can get it back when you close the component. It's very useful for cleaning up the model when you just want to isolate one thing you're working in. But if I click outside the component edit, notice the walls come back. All I have to do to get it back, double click, I'm now in component edit mode, and I can apply this technology or the thought process to the floor. So I'm just going to draw some random things. Oops, I'm using the squiggle line. That's terrible drawing. But you'll get where I'm going, I think, or at least I hope. So I have essentially three surfaces now, right? So this first surface, I'm going to use the paint bucket tool, which is the hotkey or the shortcut key of letter B. And that pulls up my options over here. Now, if you look at it right now, you're like, oh, these are some basic colors. But I think what happens if you choose to hit the magnifying glass next to the home, these are the colors in my object. These are the colors that I have access to. So I'm going to choose probably something interesting, like instead of wood, I'm going to choose carpet. And let's go with a nice green, right? All I have to do is select that green and color it in. Like literally just left click and paint. So there's the carpet. I'm going to do a different color carpet on this surface. And in this surface, instead of carpet, I'm going to close that selection set. I'm going to go down to wood. And I really love this multicolor board wood pattern. So I'm going to select that. And so what I've done now is, in a very simple way, I've created a floor pattern using these three different materials, the blue carpet or green, the tan carpet, and then the wood. And in that way, I've created a floor pattern plan for this building. So actually, it's green carpet. I keep saying the wrong color. Now, if I was really paying attention, or not paying attention, but if I was really intentional about what I was doing, I would have been cleaner with the line work. But you get the idea. Okay. So the one last thing I was going to show you is windows and doors. And so I think it's important to create the idea, or not create the idea, but understand the idea of how you create objects that are plane specific. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose rectangle, click on this surface, and boom, right? So now this rectangle is part of this plane, right? Like always, right click and hit component. That's what we want to do. And see where it says cut opening? We're going to select that this time. Okay, so double click on it, everything else goes away. We're gonna use the offset tool that you just learned in the previous video. And we're gonna create the frame for our window. And we're gonna do a little bit of an extrusion, right? So there's our window frame. And then using the paint bucket. Actually, before we do that, we're gonna select the entire object using Control A, and it's everything in the component. And we're going to apply a color to it. In this case, I'm just going to use a solid color. Maybe one of these grays. Okay. Now, obviously, that's an opaque window. You can't see through it. So I need to go back to colors, and you'll see at the very bottom, or sort of not near the middle glass. Choose the one that has this diagonal line through it. And so that's a translucent glass. So you select that, paint that surface, and now what you should see is see the horizon line? So now you know it's translucent. So we're going to click out of that, and there we go. Now I'm going to delete that component. That wall is now complete. And I'm going to reintroduce that component using our library. So under here, there's components, select the house. Ooh, I didn't name it. Shame on me. But if you select this component one, that should be the window, and then click, and then there it is. There's the window. Now, it was cutting through the object, and I know that because if I delete this surface, I can see through it. I can see through the window. The problem is the cut only goes through that plane. So you're going to have to spend a little extra time creating the opening on the inside of that wall if you do, in fact, model walls like that. But it is worth it, and I think it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, you'll have an opening which looks like a real window. And when you render that thing, you'll have sunlight coming in from it and the like. So I'm using, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I'm using the push-pull tool to simply move planes and align them to the edges so I don't have to actually measure anything out that way. So now when I look through it, it looks like a window and an opening. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful. Again, I was demonstrating Paint Bucket, and I took the opportunity to reintroduce the notion of component, offset, Paint Bucket again, and then using some of the other tools we talked about to create that opening. Okay, hopefully it was of value to you. Again, like and subscribe if it was, and make sure to hit the announcement bell. Have a great day.